What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily. So we're already approaching 1 year with the iPhone 14 lineup. I've been using the iPhone 14 Pro as my main personal device pretty much since day one, and it's sort of been a mixed experience for me overall. I really just haven't used any of the new features Apple touted when they launched this phone, like the Dynamic Island or the always-on display, or those Pro camera features that seem to be Apple's main focus. Maybe I'm just a bad iPhone user. But I've also experienced crazy battery degradation. A lot of other people have too. I still have PTSD from setting up eSIM on this phone last year, which continues to be a nuisance rather than an advantage. And I've been running the iOS 17 beta on my phone, which certainly isn't a good idea. The glitches and things are to be expected, but if this is supposed to be the latest iOS update to come out this fall with great new features, I'm just not seeing much to get excited about. Now, there are plenty of things I do like about my iPhone 14 Pro. I love the color. This deep purple is probably one of my favorites Apple has ever released, and the premium build, that frosted glass and stainless steel frame, well, it almost justifies the $1,000 price tag. Almost. I also like the size. I used to be a Plus and Pro Max iPhone guy, but I've seen the light, and this regular-sized iPhone is easy to hold, it fits better in my pocket, and I'm at the point now where anything bigger than this just feels too big. I also don't fully understand why Apple opted for that iPhone 14 Plus this year. That's not selling, at all. And I think the fact that it's big and expensive, but not a Pro iPhone, has something to do with it. I sort of wish Apple would do something to reduce the size of the camera bulge around back. All the lenses protruding out just look ridiculous. The phone wobbles like crazy on a flat surface, and I feel like the extra space or volume across the back of the phone that could be filled to even out the camera bulge could house a bigger battery or other important internals. I wouldn't mind a thicker phone, honestly. To combat that, and also to protect all the shiny stainless steel and glass, I've been using cases from channel sponsor Casecoo. This one is their Magic Stand case. I like it because it matches the phone perfectly. It also covers every corner and all the edges, including the camera bump, so the phone sits flat. The screen also has a raised edge for added protection, but it's not overly bulky. And it's functional too. Around back, there's a magnetic ring that flips out, so you can use it as sort of a finger holder to get a better grip on the phone. And you can also use it as a stand, of course, to prop up your phone in either landscape or portrait orientation. And the magnetic ring also gives you an even stronger MagSafe connection for Apple's own accessories or any third-party ones you might have. Casecoo right now is actually having a big 3-day sale on a bunch of their products, including the Magic Stand cases, and you can save up to 40%. It's happening from now until August 9th at midnight. First hour of each sale day is when you'll find the best deals with 25% off throughout the day. You even have the chance to snag some limited edition items too. Pretty much the best time ever to support the channel, save some money, and get some great cases from Casecoo. And thanks so much to them for sponsoring this video. So one of the new features for the iPhone 14 Pro was the Dynamic Island, of course, sort of a new way to notch. Now, I was skeptical when Apple announced this. While it had some practical use right out of the gate, it relied on other third-party apps taking advantage of it to really catch on. And for me, it just hasn't caught on at all. I never use the Dynamic Island, even when I'm presented with it, like for Uber and Lyft, or with media playing in the background. I use Google Maps, and there isn't even a Dynamic Island for that. And sometimes, like with AirDrop, the Dynamic Island just doesn't go away. It's not very intuitive. It also sometimes inhibits my ability to swipe down for the notification panel. The Dynamic Island will just keep jiggling like I'm interacting with it, even though there's nothing going on with it. All in all, I feel like even though it's only been a year, we're sort of already at a decision point with the Dynamic Island. If Apple launches some new abilities, new customization options, or encourages more third-party apps to utilize it, it may stick around, but I actually feel like we'll see the Dynamic Island get axed even faster than 3D Touch did. The other thing I stopped using is the always-on display. I originally really liked this. Getting to glance at your iPhone to view the time or a notification without turning it on was a welcome change, a first for any iOS device, as weird as that sounds. But between the very few useful lock screen widgets, which I've also stopped using, and the fact that it drains the battery a little more each day, I eventually disabled it and have since never missed it. Maybe with a revamped lock screen or more customization options for widgets and shortcuts, I'll come back to it, but I'm okay now with just keeping my phone always off. Now, speaking of the display, one of the most useful new things on the iPhone 14 Pro for me me was the increased brightness, especially the auto brightness. Outdoor viewing with the iPhone 14 Pro is drastically improved compared to previous iPhones. And in a bright, sunny place like Las Vegas, this is something I continue to notice each and every day. The downside is that the max brightness lasts only a couple of minutes. As soon as the phone heats up, the brightness drops and drops and drops until it's finally just barely viewable behind all that glare. And living in Las Vegas, where it's very hot, this also happens every single day. Now, I realize this is a somewhat unique problem. Very few places in the world are 115 degrees in the summertime, so a lot of other people may not even experience any overheating. But I think some people have noticed worse heat management with the iPhone 14 Pro just in general. I certainly have, even in favorable conditions, so I feel like that's at least part of the equation. If we can have an extra bright screen that actually lasts a little longer, or a phone that doesn't overheat as quickly, that would be a further improvement that I know I personally would appreciate. So let's talk battery life. When this phone first launched, I actually noticed the improved battery life. Call it better iOS optimization or a more efficient processor with the A16 chip, whatever the case, this was a solid phone that used to last me a full day with ease. Now, my iPhone 14 Pro has a maximum battery capacity, just 89% after less than a year. It seems to have gotten worse very quickly, particularly in the last couple of months. And I genuinely have no idea why. Because of that, this phone just cannot make it through the day now. Some people have speculated that using the MagSafe charger is what ruins the battery. Others say that utilizing the faster wall plugs is the issue. But whatever it is, this simply should not be happening. I don't care what anyone says. This is unusual. It's inconsistent with previous iPhones, and it seems to be sort of a widespread issue. Also, battery tech and charging speeds have never really been something Apple has pushed beyond the limits. They've never gone crazy with 100-watt charging speeds or 5,000 milliamp batteries. So in theory, this setup should be what Apple feels is the best combination of charging and capacity. But from a user perspective, it just isn't. Also, from a user perspective, eSIM absolutely sucks. When I first bought my iPhone 14 Pro, I just had a feeling something would go horribly wrong transitioning from a physical SIM on the iPhone 13 to the eSIM here, and lo and behold, for like 5 hours, my new iPhone 14 Pro had no cell service, and I couldn't revert back to my old phone because this one had the eSIM profile but just wasn't working. There was a minor iOS update at the time, and going through and updating the phone magically fixed it. I still have no idea what happened, and now, even after almost a year, people still have a hard time getting eSIM to work, regardless of their carrier or service plan or device they're coming from. eSIM was just not a positive change. And yeah, I know SIM cards are ancient technology by today's standards, and I probably sound like a boomer complaining about it, but it's just not a change that was really necessary or produced any added benefits in my opinion. Through all my complaining, the best thing about the iPhone 14 Pro, in my opinion, has been the camera setup. There's still no other phone I'd ever want to take a picture with, and especially a video with, besides the iPhone. And after snapping now thousands of pictures and videos with this phone, I still think it's the best of the best for all situations. Now, I'm still going to complain about something, and that's the simple fact that after all of Apple's upgrades and pro feature add-ons, like the 48 megapixel RAW shooting mode and ProRes and Dolby Vision and cinematic mode, 99% of iPhone users still simply just whip out their phone, snap a semi-blurry pic of their friends or their dog, and never change a single setting or utilize most of the other shooting modes the iPhone offers. The Pro iPhones in particular have immense capabilities for professionals, photographers, filmmakers, content creators, but a vast majority of iPhones never actually get used that way. And I'm one of those people who don't use most of the Pro features. That's okay, but I always tell people that the Pro iPhones are really camera focused. That's where the increase in price and features is at. But I've done a number of videos now comparing the regular iPhone to the Pro iPhone, and most of the comments and feedback I get are people saying simply, I got the regular iPhone and I'm happy with the camera, so take that for what it's worth. Looking ahead, I think Apple is going to have some challenges with getting people excited about the upcoming iPhone 15 lineup. People are keeping their phones longer. The iPhone as a whole hasn't changed in the last few years. iOS 17 on this phone doesn't even feel that new, and rumors suggest the entire iPhone 15 lineup could be more expensive. Now, $999, the starting price for this phone, is already pretty crazy. But if the iPhone 15 Pro started at over $1,000 and the regular iPhone 15s were nearly $1,000 themselves, I feel like we may see even less people opting for the new devices, especially if there really isn't anything new like in years past, and especially if some of the issues that I and a lot of other people have experienced with this year's iPhones aren't fixed. But what do you guys think? How has your experience been with the iPhone 14, if you have one? Am I just being a whiny little baby? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow Tech Daily on Twitter and subscribe to the Tech Daily YouTube channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys later.